What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Celtics Daily Channel with me, Mike Zakarian, as we continue to talk about the Boston Celtics, specifically their NBA offseason. We'll be diving through some of the news and notes of the recent days, and then I'm very excited to get into some of your comments from yesterday's video to close out the show. But if it's your first time here, do me a favor, hit the subscribe. We're just approaching 1,700 subs. The community's been growing. It's been mostly good vibes, so do me a favor, hit the subscribe, the like button, the notification bell, so you know the next time we're dropping that sweet Celtics content. Speaking of dropping, the Boston Celtics waived reigning G League MVP J.D. Davison, which was kind of a bummer of a story. I was a fan of JD. I mean, I thought he was probably a little too small to really make for what his game was, to be a little too small to be as impactful as an actual NBA player, but clearly he thrived in the G League. He's participated in Summer League the last couple of seasons. It seemed like this might have been the year that he was going to get an opportunity to do a little bit more with the current roster construction of the Boston Celtics. But, however, the front office had made the decision to cut ties. This actually puts the Celtics in kind of a weird spot as a roster because they are now one below the team or they have one roster spot that is now vacant. And we'll talk about some of the potential rumors about what that actually means. But one thing to note is that the Celtics, I think, have done this a couple of seasons. I don't know if consecutive seasons, but they've done it a couple of times in the last few years where they go into the season not having the full roster spot filled and then they leave it open. This move, getting rid of J.D. Davison, I believe, gets them under the second apron by a little bit, and essentially anybody that they would add would probably put them back over the second apron. So if I had to guess, there's like one or two outcomes. One, they leave this vacant for a while until they figure out what their next move is, because clearly, by all of the moves that we've seen so far from the Celtics, this is the plan, right? The plan is for them to be under the luxury tax the best they can, to be under the second apron, because I don't think they are going to be a super duper competitive team, which we'll talk about in a little bit later or in our next segment. But the other option here, the other rumor, if you will, is that it's Ben Simmons. It's that it's Ben Simmons' season, that he is going to be making his way to the Boston Celtics. He currently is, according to Vegas, no matter what the book you look like, the betting odds are for him to land in Boston. The other teams that have been thrown around there are the New York Knicks and the Sacramento Kings. There's actually truly a crazy tweet here. Let me actually pull it up that I believe I joked about it, but the quote was here. This is from Jake Fisher. Shout out Jake Fisher, who does some work over with Mark Stein. He said, Ben Simmons' pending decision is reportedly holding up the market for Russell Westbrook. Now, that is a 2025-ass tweet if I've ever heard one. The fact that Ben Simmons is holding up any sort of market is pretty incredible, let alone for Russell Westbrook. I do think those are two names that potentially could land in Boston if the Celtics do decide they want to try to fill that last spot. I know the chat has been something. But one of the things the chat has been is excited about the potential idea of Ben Simmons. And again, I don't see it. I think, like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me a third time, like, I gotta go talk to somebody, maybe a therapist, maybe lay off the drugs. Like, at some point, I have to stop believing that all of a sudden Ben Simmons is going to return to his all-NBA, all-star, all-defensive form that we haven't seen now since before COVID. That's how long it's been since Ben Simmons has played meaningful basketball. Now, some of it, I think, has been up here. Some of it is back here, pointing to his back, that he's been dealing with all that. I just don't think he can return to the same form. However, I will, I've said this about Damian Lillard, who I think obviously had much higher upside when we were talking about the potential of him coming to the Celtics. But if you want to give Ben Simmons the same type of glass half full vibe that we gave to Damian Lillard, you can say, hey, listen, man, he's probably going to sign a vet minimum. It's not like he's getting a big old bag. It's a vet min. You bring him in. You see if he can rebound, defend, still push the pace, get the ball up, and then who knows? Maybe Joe Mazzulla makes him watch Jeremy Renner and Ben Affleck in The Town over and over and over again, and then somehow that Boston energy seeps into his brain and he starts actually shooting the ball when he's open. And if that happens, hey, For a vet min, if you're able to rehabilitate Ben Simmons, allow him to get some run in a team that's clearly not going to be competing in the Eastern Conference this upcoming season, and cool. And then if he doesn't do well, snip, snap. He doesn't need to be there. You banish him. Send him home. So I don't know. Maybe that is what we see. Maybe Ben Simmons is the answer. Although I kind of lean that the Celtics don't make a move until they figure out what their next move is, if you will. If they kind of line up a deal for Anthony Simons, if they line up somebody, a Sam Hauser or a Georges Niang, because I just don't know if they want to bring in another piece that's going to get them back over the second apron. Because again, the ramifications of a team continuing to be in the tax in the second apron, it starts to weigh heavy on the organization. And if you are not going to be competing for a title, it's not worth throwing it in there yet. So I also wanted to just run through the Celtics roster right now, just because I don't know the last time you've taken a look at this, but this will help our conversation for our next thing. Actually, let's just move to the next thing, and then we'll do it, which is Zach Lowe. Zach Lowe, a big fan of him, the Zach Lowe Show. He did a big Eastern Conference breakdown yesterday and had Michael Pena of The Ringer on along with him. This is our second Michael Pena reference this week, I think. And here was his quote on the Celtics. He said, "The depth chart after Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Peyton Pritchard, and whatever you think of Anthony Simons crumbles so fast. I don't really see a case for Celtics optimism this season." Again, he said this season. Let's look at this roster. So we mentioned Jaylen Brown. We mentioned Peyton Pritchard, and we mentioned Derek White. We'll give you the benefit of the doubt of Anthony Simons. After that, it's Luka Garza, Sam Hauser, Hayden Gray, who I'm not sure if he made the team. He's a rookie. We got Hugo Gonzalez, Josh Minot, Georges Niang, Namias Keita. We'll see if Miles Norris from the Summer League standout, if he gets an invite. Baylor Shireman, Max Suga, Jordan Walsh, Xavier Tillman, and then Amari Williams. That is the roster. And, I've been going back and forth where I do think, if your core is Jaylen Brown and Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, and it is the Eastern Conference, and we're looking at, where could they actually land, right? It was hard to have somebody else lay it out for us, because I was like, I think they're going to have to force the tank in. But really, man, you start looking at these teams, and I think the Cavs are clearly ahead of that roster. The Knicks are clearly ahead of that roster. I think the Pistons are clearly ahead of that. The Magic, the Hawks, I think too. And then I honestly even the Bucks there, and that's at best you are a 7 seed almost at this point, right? And then you still have what are the Pacers going to look like? I know they don't have Halliburton, but they still have a bunch their core of Nembhard, Siakam. They'll have Benedict Mathurin in year 2. They still got this young guy, Jarris Walker, who I think is really going to pop. We don't the Chicago Bulls. I'm never going to trust. How does Miami Heat rebuild? Also, we should talk about Miami just for a second, because of scary Terry Rozier. I should have worn that t-shirt today. There's a Terry Rozier t-shirt, but I'm sure you've all been following along with Pablo Torre finds out the Malik Beasley situation, right, where he gets allegedly caught up in this gambling scandal. And then we had the rumors that Terry Rozier was also potentially targeted or a part of this investigation, maybe 6 or 7 months ago, right? And it was during his time from the Charlotte Hornets to the Miami Heat. And then Terry Rozier Terry Rozier was averaging 20 plus a game when he was with Charlotte. Goes to Miami and then is immediately terrible. It's amid these allegations. But then it sounds like he was cleared, and then the reporting recently is that actually not so fast. He wasn't cleared, that he just, they slowed down the investigation or something. So that's something to pay attention to in Miami. But if for whatever reason Terry Rozier is forced to not be on the team anymore because of this, there's a chance the salary is waived off the books and then Miami's able to make another move. But anyways, Miami picked up Norman Powell. They still have Hero and Bam. They're going to, and they've got these young guys in Khalil Ware, Nikola Jovic, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Hayward Highsmith, right? Andrew Wiggins is still there. So honestly, Miami's probably ahead of that team. And then you look at Toronto Raptors and they're starting 5, and you have RJ Barrett, Jakob Poeltl, Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, and Emmanuel Quickley. That 5 is better than the Celtics roster we just threw out there. I think the Celtics organization is telling us with their actions and not necessarily their words that this year is going to be a gap year, a rebuild year. And I'll look right into camera and say this. I think that's fine. I do, but that'll bum me out. I would much rather watch this team compete to get back, like, scrap to a 4 seed, try to get out of the first round of the playoffs and see what happens. But honestly, if this is an opportunity to let Baylor Shireman cook, let's see what we got with this young guy, Amari Williams. See if Luka Garza and Josh Minot, formerly of the Minnesota Timberwolves, are able to like find their way in the league. Maybe one of these guys pop. Maybe Nehemiah Quito, who's been like such a raw talent, maybe with like consistent opportunities as the starting five, is able to blossom. And then you take some mileage off of Jaylen Brown, some mileage off of Derek White, who clearly are in their prime, and I'm sure they don't want to do that, but I love the idea of them coming into the 26-27 season healthy and fresh, with Tatum coming off that injury, healthy and fresh. You don't have to rush him back, and then you get most likely a top 10 pick. You get to see what you got in some of these young guys, because maybe Shireman, we saw him in Summer League, and he was doing everything well besides the ball going into the net. Like the three-point shot, for whatever reason, was short, funky, not falling, but he was moving so well without the ball, was defending at a much better clip. The shots were good shots, just not going down. And if Shireman's able to just pop this season, or maybe Jordan Walsh, who has not really gotten the opportunity to get consistent minutes, maybe he's able to pop, and then all of a sudden they become a core rotational player as the Celtics immediately retool and take a shot back into the Eastern Conference in 26-27 with whatever pick. Because if you, we just went over that East, right? The Knicks have to figure out what they're going to do with Mikal Bridges. We don't know how the Mike Brown fit's going to be. The Cavs are only going to get more expensive. It's going to be harder for them to keep that roster together. We already know the Bucks are on their way down the slope, right? They're not ascending anymore. They are descending. So the Bucks I'm not so scared of. And then who knows? The Magic are going to get super expensive once those Paolo and Franz extensions kicks in. And then Atlanta, a lot of those, Trae Young's contract's up. Kristaps Porzingis' contract is up. What are they going to do? If they underachieve this season, does Atlanta kind of blow that situation up? I almost called it a situation, which I think is something we should trademark and put on some T-shirts. So anyways, I think this is a good path forward. I think that it is what the Celtics organization thinks they should do. If that allows them to get out of their repeater tax this year, meaning, if they get under the tax, then next year they're not going to be penalized as aggressively if they get back over it. So that's where we're at right now. It was interesting to hear Zach Lowe, two non-Celtics fans, actually talk about the Celtics. I thought was pretty important, and it does seem like that is what the tea leaves are saying. I feel like you all are going to disagree with that, specifically with how yesterday went down. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts in the chat of do you think this is realistic? Do you think this is what they are doing, and how does it make you feel? Are you okay with it? Do you disagree with this just wholeheartedly that they're not going to do it? I think the one caveat to all of this, and I agree with the comment that was said last week, is Jaylen Brown in his prime going to just forfeit an opportunity to make All-NBA, right? Because in order to make the All-NBA, you got to win 65. I mean, you got to play 65 games. Imagine if you had to win 65 games. You got to play 65 games. Now, he's already made All-NBA, so he's already got that Supermax bonus of the $50 million a year, $300+ million, right? So it doesn't matter as much, but I'm sure legacy-wise, when you're remembered, you want multiple All-NBA appearances. So does JB kind of force the issue a little bit? But there's other ways to do it too. The Celtics can still artfully tank, just by resting guys on specific days. And honestly, they might not have to rest guys to tank. We just went over that roster. All right. Sam Hauser's the fourth best guy on this team. Georges Niang is scheduled. The starting five right now is Jaylen Brown, Anthony Simons, Peyton Pritchard. Anthony Simons, Derek White. And then it's Georges Niang and Nehemiah Quito. They got three starters. They got three-fifths of a starting five. So I'm just throwing that out there. All right, let's do some more positive news before you guys get all upset. Our guy Jaylen Brown is so fresh off of surgery, right? Back in the gym though. He was back in the gym already after the surgery, and guess who he was in the gym with? The lethal shooter. The lethal shooter. So JB was working with the guy, the viral shooting coach that's always out there, and he was working with him in the gym. Very curious to see how that impacts JB. I imagine he wants, he's going to have to be taking tougher shots this season. mainly because Tatum's not there to ease the load, right? When they're both on the court, you have to be paying attention to two elite wings. Now you only have to pay attention to one elite wing. So JB is going to be getting the most attention from a defense each and every single night. So those shots are going to be a little bit tougher. It seems like he was really working in the clip that I encourage you to go check the clip out too. JB shared it, Lethal Shooter shared it, to see the clip of him like just kind of really working on getting to his spots. So I think that's a good sign considering JB had offseason surgery. We knew he was hurt in the playoffs, and for him to already be back at it on July 24th, I think is important. That's important for the recovery. So if the Celtics are going to have a fighting chance, good to see JB out there and healthy again. Let's wrap this up with some of your comments from yesterday. I'm very excited to do this. This is probably my favorite part of the show, which is a reminder, if you've made it this far without subscribing, do me a favor, do that. And then, this video doesn't work without you. So continue to comment away so that we can, continue to interact here during this part. So let's get into some of my favorite things from yesterday. I thought there was some really good stuff here. Let's see. Let's find the good stuff here. Okay, here we go. From Mr. Original One. Nothing you said makes any sense. I know you're trying to make money, but this is pathetic. Thank you, Mr. Original, for a very original comment. We had a lot of those too. Robert Pierce, tired of rumors. This is garbage. Just clicks. Very good. Very good. Viking mentality, which, would love some more information just on like the creation of this name. Like, what kind of mentality are you bringing? You a big fan of ships? Do you like dumb hats? Or are you just a Justin Jefferson fan? Viking mentality says, WTF are you even talking about? Shake my MFing head. Very good. Here we go. Frank Vonner says, maybe one of your headlines should be, we did not see this coming. Very good. Very creative. Wise said, enough of the rumors and speculation. We want cold, hard facts. Every day, it's now nonsense. Okay, we're almost done with these, but there was one that I really wanted to get that I haven't been able to find yet. Okay, wait, no, where is it? And it was the idea... Oh, man, I wonder if it got hidden because it was too mean. There was one that basically said, hey, man, Brad Stevens isn't watching this video to come up with trade ideas. And to you, sir, I say, no shit. Guys, my favorite part about all of this response, right? The name of this channel is Celtics Daily, right? And then the first thing it says, Daily Celtics News and Rumors. It is July 25th today. We are in the dead zone of the NBA offseason. We are freaking talking about, will Ben Simmons be an important addition to the Boston Celtics? We are in the dead zone. We're talking about Marcus Smart getting bought out from the freaking Wizards, going to the Lakers. We just mentioned Torrey Craig. Where's Torrey Craig going to sign? That's where we're at right now. This is the point of the offseason where these types of conversations happen. It is a speculative show. That's the whole point of it. So if you watch that entire video and then were surprised that we covered some speculative rumor stuff around the Boston Celtics, who are clearly in a rebuild situation, and then we're surprised at it, I don't know what to tell you, man. I just thought that was incredible. I thought it was incredible. But I don't know if you guys have like a Reddit you go to together. Maybe you get a group chat, be like, hey, let's go be dickheads today, because A+ stuff. But as I've said time and time again with every video, the positive stuff's good, the negative stuff's good. Just keep it coming. I appreciated the energy yesterday. I just thought it was very funny because 2 videos ago, we talked about the rumor about Derek White and Jaden Ivey, some sort of deal between the Pistons. And the chat was like, Derek White for Jaden Ivey. The second I heard that, I shut the video off. And then because of that comment, I was like, you know what? That's pretty interesting that we value Derek White so much. So let's look at some more expensive, some more deals where the reward or the get back for Derek White and then for Jaylen Brown would be much higher than what has been rumored. And then instead, everybody's like, oh, this is just clickbait trash. This is talk to me about
about J.D. Davison. Talk to me about Baylor Simon off of catch and shoot threes.
It was just really good stuff all around. I appreciated the energy. It was good because yesterday was a pretty slow day for me. So to get those kind of bing, bing notifications that everybody was so cranky about a YouTube video warmed my heart, much like the Grinch who stole NBA joy. That's going to do it for us today, though. I hope you appreciated the energy. I hope you appreciated the cold, hard facts. We'll be back tomorrow with some more cold, hard facts. Hit the subscribe on the way out. We'll see you tomorrow.